The Sulphur Bank Mine is located near Clear Lake Oaks and Clear Lake in Lake County. The 150-acre mine became one of the most noted mercury producers in the world. During the 150 years since the Sulphur Bank was discovered, the area has drawn geologists, inspired unique scientific theories, established constitutional case law, and now attracts environmental scientists who study the impact of mercury contamination within the Cache Creek watershed of Northern California and the Sacramento River Delta region and San Francisco Bay. Beginning in 1856, the mine was first worked for borax. Mining for sulfur began in 1865 and produced 2 million pounds in 4 years. Mercury ore was mined intermittently by underground and open-pit methods from 1873 to 1957. Sulphur Bank Mine was credited with a total output of 92,400 flasks, that's 7 million pounds by 1918. The mine was an important producer during both World Wars. The mine closed in 1957 and is a California Historical Landmark number 428. The Sulphur Bank Mine became an Environmental Protection Agency Superfund Site in 1990. Although the hot springs of the Sulphur Bank contained borax, the search led John Allen Veach to nearby Borax Lake, where the California Borax Company established the first commercial borax mining operation in the U.S. beginning in 1860 and ceasing in 1868. The company established land claims to Borax Lake, the Sulphur Bank, and Sulphur Springs in Colusa County. The officers of the California Borax Company included physicians Veach, William Ayres, and Robert Oxland, and lawyers Henry Halleck, Archibald Peachy, Frederick Billings, and Solomon Haydenfeld. The fascination with borax resulted from the fact that boric acid was critical as a flux in metalworking. All borax at that time was imported, mostly from the Tuscan Lakes area of Italy. The California Borax Company did engage in sulfur mining at Sulphur Bank, extracting 2 million pounds in 4 years, for a time before the company's collapse in 1868, and the sulfur was discovered to be contaminated with cinnabar. Between the time of Veach's discovery and the working of sulfur, a minor mining excitement led to the discovery of cinnabar in the northern reaches of Napa County. The Silverado Rush in the winter of 1858 to 59 caused every unemployed man from SoCal to Calistoga turned prospector. Blankets and bacon, beans and hard bread rose to a premium, reported William Montgomery in a lighthearted sketch of the Great Silver Rush that resulted in enormous finds of worthless iron pyrites. But the rush did result in the discovery of cinnabar in 1860. Montgomery, who became a stockholder in the Excelsior mine, is the only known source of the often-repeated tale of Seth Dunham and L.D. Jones discovering cinnabar in a road cut of the Berryessa, Lower Lake Road, now Morgan Valley Road, in what became known as the Knoxville Mining District, about a dozen miles southeast of the Sulphur Bank in present-day Napa County. The Excelsior became known as the Reddington Mine a decade later and was second only to the new Almaden Mine in production. Another account of the discovery of cinnabar in the same region is contained in the December 1861 edition of Scientific American magazine. There has been recently opened an extensive cinnabar vein in Napa County, which promises to be rich. This was discovered by John Newman of Pope's Valley. The cinnabar was discovered by means of the fires which are made to burn off the chaparral, the magazine reported. Newman became a stockholder of the Phoenix mine in that location. These early discoveries of mercury-bearing ores did not become viable mercury producers until 1872, when the price of mercury and improved smelting methods resulted in the establishment of many mines in Lake and Napa counties. In 1873, the defunct California Borax Company was acquired by Tiburcio and John Parrott, William Babcock, and Darius Ogden Mills for the purpose of quicksilver mining at Sulphur Bank. Until 1875, when the mine shipped 5,218 flasks of mercury, it operated under the name of the Borax Company, but then changed the name to the Sulphur Bank Quicksilver Mining Company. Tiburcio Parrott was controlling partner of the new company, and it was he who was later jailed when the company refused to abide by a state law excluding Chinese from employment. Tiburcio's father, John Parrott, was a wealthy banker. Parrott and Company of San Francisco was a major landholder and banking firm. John Parrott's weekend retreat consisted of 17,000 acres in San Mateo County. John Parrott also owned 8% of the giant New Almaden quicksilver mine in Santa Clara County. Babcock was an officer of Parrott and Company and was a partner with Tiburcio Parrott in an import-export company. Mills was also asset-rich, founding the Bank of California, but who had stepped down as bank president by the time of the Sulphur Bank Mercury mining era. It was Mills who later saved Bank of California with his personal assets when it failed under William Chapman Ralston. The period of 1875 to 1883 was the heyday of the mining activity. The Sulphur Bank quicksilver mine often had the highest output after the New Almaden, the New Idria, San Benito County, and the Redington. However, profits were tempered by the temperature of the underground workings. The Chinese miners, who did most of the underground work, had to endure temperatures of 176 degrees because the ore body followed the path of at least 3 hot springs at the site. The mercury was shipped in iron flasks weighing about 90 pounds each and containing 76.5 pounds of mercury. The closest rail service was 45 miles away in Calistoga. The wagon trip over the crest of Mount St. Helena via the Lawley Toll Road to the railhead could take a week or more. Just how much mercury was shipped from Sulphur Bank is a matter of some estimation. The History of Lake County 1881 puts production at 12,000 flasks in the 2 years 1874 to 1876. Walter Bradley, state mineralogist, estimated total output to 1918 at 92,000 flasks. The mine was only sporadically worked after 1883, so the majority of the output can be attributed to the Parrott era. The township of Eastlake was established next to the mine. The mining superintendent, Ferdinand Fiedler, listed his address at Eastlake, as did Assistant Superintendent Tucker. The German-born Fiedler was the furnace operator and postmaster at the New Almaden mine before taking the post of superintendent at Sulphur Bank. The mine's owner-investors all lived in San Francisco. Eastlake was directly adjacent to the mining property. After the mine closed, Eastlake was abandoned. Those who worked at the mine in 1880 constituted an ethnic soup of foreign-born workers. The 1880 federal census, dated June 22, 1880, listed 218 Chinese-born men and 40 Occidentals associated with the mine. Only a few of the white miners were born in the United States. Immigrants from Sweden and Norway constituted the bulk of the European miners. A few of the miners were Irish-born, as were 2 Mexicans. Most of the miners had no families present, but some of the managers had families and children living at Eastlake. None of the Chinese miners had families present. The quicksilver mine was partially an open pit and partially a tunneling operation. 3 shafts and a series of lateral tunnels, known as drifts, comprised the underground works. The shafts were known as the Hermann, the Fiedler, and the Parrott. From historical documents, it appears only the Wagon Spring Cut and Bathhouse Cut, open pits, and the Parrott shaft were used for mining until 1880. By 1880, the other 2 shafts were also in place, one of which reached 260 feet. Bathhouse and Parrott flooded then and were not further used. At Sulphur Bank, tunnels were used in developing and mining the ore just under and in the basalt capping. In depth, development, and mining proceeded through shallow shafts. Operations from any one shaft were carried on until the hot water and gas made conditions intolerable, when the shaft was abandoned and a new one was sunk a short distance away. The cinnabar ore, known also as mercury sulfide, 84 parts mercury to 16 parts sulfur, was treated in furnaces and retorts near the mine. The essential refining method was to turn the mercury into gas and recondense it to quicksilver. The sulfur would burn and convert to sulfur dioxide. The waste rock associated with the ore is known as calcine, or burnt rock, would be dumped near the lake shore, out of the way of the mining works. All of the furnaces at all of the mines in the vicinity were wood-fired. The heyday of quicksilver mining came to an end when the price of quicksilver dropped to $25 per flask from a high in 1874 of $120. The Sulphur Bank Quicksilver Mining Company was bankrupt by 1883. Tiburcio Parrott's biographer states the company's stock went into default, which suggests the stock was pledged against loans to cover operating expenses. Who the creditors were or to whom the mine was sold is unknown. John Parrott died in 1884, and his widow, Abigail inherited control of Parrott and Company. John Parrott was the American consul to Mexico at Mazatlan. The war with Mexico put a temporary end to the diplomacy business. John Parrott then set up his banking and real estate business in San Francisco in 1848 or 1850. John Parrott's son by Dolores Ochoa was educated in the United States and Europe. After the failure of the mercury mine, he spent the last decade of his life founding and operating a wine estate near the township of St. Helena. There he became closely associated with the German-born Beringer brothers, Frederick and Jacob. Tiburcio Parrott died in 1894, and in 1901, the Sulphur Bank Mine was sold to a group of New York bankers. By 1902, Sulphur Bank Mine was operating as the Empire Consolidated Quicksilver Company, and a new shaft, the Empire, was sunk. Riley Boggess was listed as owner/general manager. It is greatly to be regretted that the management of this property has not taken pains to preserve geological descriptions of the underground works, which are all caved in, except the Empire shaft, now in progress of sinking. The latter is so tightly timbered, owing to bad ground, that it offers no opportunity to study the formations through which it has passed, wrote William Forstner of California State Mining Bureau. He also observed that Sulphur Bank had the appearance of an abandoned hydraulic mine. Boggess got the mine mired in court battles in the state of New York, where he also lined up his investors. Riley Boggess had been connected with the mine, and in 1901 he promoted the formation of the Empire Consolidated Quicksilver Mining Company, floated a considerable amount of stock in the East, and secured the names of prominent New York capitalists for directors. The new company purchased the Sulphur Banks and the Abbott mines in Lake County and the Central and Empire mines in Colusa County. The mines were never opened, and the stockholders' money was wasted. The record of the Sulphur Banks since has been constant litigation and abandoned works, but it is believed by many that rich ore still exists there, as the history of Mendocino and Lake County's summarized events. The deal began to unravel a year later. The broker of the first deal, John Reed, won a suit against Boggess. The Times reported July 25, 1902, and in the July 6th edition, the paper noted a lawsuit filed by Katrin Plumer of Brooklyn alleging Boggess, Reed, and others had defrauded her of her 1897 investment in the mines. In addition, a July 17, 1902 article related a series of complex stock manipulations involving the Empire Consolidated Quicksilver Mining Company. There is no evidence how Plumer's claim was resolved, but the millions of dollars allegedly on or under the table boiled down to $750 in cash by 1903. United States Marshall Henkel sold by auction yesterday 379 shares of the stock of the Empire Consolidated Quicksilver Mining Company, which was bid in for $750 by William Hughes. The stock was seized to satisfy a judgment against Riley Boggess, and the stock had been pledged with the North American Trust Company to secure loans. The Sulphur Bank Mercury Mine next became the possession of George Ruddock, a mining engineer and amateur botanist who lived in Alameda in 1910 and San Francisco by 1920. How he came into possession of the property and surrounding acreage is unclear. Walter Bradley's report on quicksilver mining in California lists Ruddock as the owner of Sulphur Bank by 1918, and that Ruddock had the mine under lease to an H.W. Gould. State mineralogist Bradley indicated Sulphur Bank had not been worked or dewatered since 1906. The old Empire Consolidated Quicksilver Mining Company was now headed by Riley Boggess' wife, Emma, which still held possession of the Abbott and other mines near Sulphur Creek in Colusa and Lake counties. Neither the Abbott nor Sulphur Bank were being actively worked. For the present at least, no underground work is planned, there being several 100,000 tons at the surface, estimated as material available for treatment. Practically all of the dumps in sight, and some over the hill on the north side, have concentratable values in cinnabar. The material can be cheaply excavated with a steam shovel and transported to the mill by motor trucks, as it will have to be moved distances up to a mile and raised to the top of the mill bin, Bradley reported. Whether the plan for mining exclusively by open-pit methods proceeded is uncertain, but that method was employed a decade later when the Bradley Mining Company acquired the Sulphur Bank Mercury Mine. Frederick Worthen Bradley, the head and founder of the family-owned Bradley Mining Company, became both famous and infamous in 19th century American history, unknowingly surviving 2 assassination attempts and setting records for low-cost ore production. His history is well documented on both the internet and print. There is no known connection between Bradley Mining Company and Walter Wadsworth Bradley, who would become the California state mineralogist. Frederick's father, Henry Sewell Bradley, came to California to work the gold fields, became a land surveyor instead, and died in 1881 when Frederick Bradley was midway through his education at the University of California. Frederick Bradley dropped out of school, borrowed $5,000 and took over ownership/management of the existing Spanish mine on the South Fork of the Yuba River, setting a record for low-cost ore production. He was inducted into the Mining Hall of Fame in 1988. By 1893, Frederick Bradley assumed management, but not ownership, of the Bunker Hill lead mine near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Between 1894 and 1904, Bradley made the money-losing low-grade ore profitable, but at the cost of a civil war between the mining company and the Western Federation of Miners Union. Testimony at the 1906 murder trial of Big Bill Haywood. The Union treasurer disclosed the 2 assassination attempts on Bradley in San Francisco in 1904. Bradley then went off to Alaska to turn 2 money-losing gold operations into profitable ventures. Mount Bradley in Alaska is named for him. Bradley Mining Company first optioned Sulphur Bank mercury mine from Ruddock in 1927 and then purchased the mine and surrounding 700 acres. The mine was operated under the name Sulphur Bank Syndicate, but eventually operated as the Bradley Mining Company. Worthen Bradley, Frederick's son, became assistant superintendent of the mine soon after he was graduated at the University of California, Berkeley in 1926. He eventually served as president of the Bradley Mining Company. In later years, Worthen Bradley recalled the Bradleys' interest in the Sulphur Bank mine was generated by a rise in the price of quicksilver. During the Depression years of the 1930s, the mine was active or inactive, dependent upon the price, he told a local newspaper in 1955. "We are trying to do, with 1 shovel and 2 shifts, what we did with several in World War II. Bradley said in 1955, "We are still in the stage of getting started and hope to begin plant operation this month, September. Unfortunately, the quicksilver market has declined somewhat since we began work. The Sulphur Bank mercury mine closed permanently in 1957. Frederick Worthen Bradley, the founder of the company, died in 1933. The son, Worthen, then took over operation of the mine and developed a summer estate known as Rancho Sulfatara on 800 acres. Rancho Sulfatara was used first for stock raising to feed 100 resident miners during World War II. During the war, the demand for quicksilver skyrocketed because of its use in detonators and munitions. Worthen Bradley died at age 55 in 1959. Helen Pope Bradley, who wed Worthen in 1929, engaged in raising show stock, known as Hereford cattle, in 1943. Helen lived until 2006, a month before her 100th birthday. Worthen Bradley was born Frederick Worthen Bradley, but used Worthen as his first name. A son, Frederick Worthen Bradley, an attorney, is now the president of the Bradley Mining Company. The Sulphur Bank Mine and Rancho Sulfatara are held by the company and the Worthen Bradley Trust. Today, the mine currently consists of mine tailings, waste rock, and a flooded open pit mine, known as the Herman Impoundment or Herman Pit. Approximately 2 million cubic yards of mine wastes and tailings remain on the site. The Herman Pit, which is filled with acidic water, covers 23 acres to a depth of 90 feet and is located 750 feet upslope of Clear Lake. The Alum tribal colony of Pomo Indians is located directly adjacent to the mine property. A freshwater wetland is located to the north of the mine, and critical habitat for 3 endangered species of wildlife, the peregrine falcon, southern bald eagle, and yellow-billed cuckoo, is less than a quarter-mile from the site. The mine site has been implicated by the EPA in mercury pollution of Clear Lake, but the allegations are disputed by Bradley Mining Company, the last and current owner of the mine. The discovery of mercury in the fish of Clear Lake was accidental. The California Department of Fish and Game's biologist, Larry Week was testing fish samples in 1976 for DDT, a close relative of the pesticide DDT, and discovered high levels of mercury in fish tissue. During the next decade, various state and federal agencies conducted tests of the lake and mine site, resulting in the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, placing Sulphur Bank Mine in 1990 on the National Priorities List, NPL, under the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation and Liability Act, or CERCLA. The Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry was also established by CERCLA under the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. The registry assesses the health hazards and risks at contaminated sites and makes recommendations reducing those hazards. The mine site has been proposed for listing on the NPL since 1988, and the registry published its report the next year, concluding Sulphur Bank Mine is a public health hazard. In 1990, the EPA began studies on the flooded pit, waste rock piles, lake sediments, and a nearby wetland. The EPA completed an emergency remediation in 1992, where the slope of mine tailings was cut back along the shoreline, covered with clean soil and reseeded. The agency states that more than 32 acres of waste rock had been deposited into the lake and piled up along the shore. Other EPA cleanup actions included an earthen dam built between the flooded acidic open pit, called the Herman Impoundment after one of the mining shafts named Herman, and the shoreline in 1996, a 4,000-foot pipeline to divert surface water runoff away from the pit in 1999, and contaminated soil removal from the adjacent Elam Indian Colony in 1997. In 1992, the Bradley Mining Company petitioned the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals for a review of the EPA's rulemaking listing the mine site on the National Priorities List, asserting that the agency acted arbitrarily and capriciously in listing the property because the EPA failed to demonstrate that mercury found in an adjacent lake was caused by mining operations, and because the agency incorrectly calculated the risk that the mercury would contaminate usable groundwater. The court ruled in favor of the EPA and denied the Bradley petition. The tests of lake sediments and water for mercury from 1992 through 1998 show increasingly higher levels of mercury from samples taken closest to the mine site. How the mercury is getting into the lake and its food chain is still unclear. The UC Davis researchers' theory is that acid mine drainage is seeping through the contaminated waste rock and then entering the lake from underground in addition to surface runoff, leaching mercury into the lake. The source of the acidity may be the flooded Herman pit, which has a tested pH level of 3.2. This underground system is difficult to study as the miners ripped the relatively compact natural sulfide deposit to pieces, jumbled uneconomic minerals together with miscellaneous overburden rock, and piled the resulting poisonous melange 30 or 40 feet deep over the tunnel-laced rock of the former underground mine. Finding out how water and air flow through the resulting mess is a very difficult task. Another theory is of geothermal springs being the source for inorganic mercury in Clear Lake, as there are abundant springs emanating from the lake bed. Deep core samples of sediments taken in the 1980s show peaks of mercury during prehistoric times that likely originated from natural processes, such as volcanic and/or tectonic activity, within the Clear Lake Basin. A report published in Geology, November 1987, theorized that mercury-rich geothermal fluids rose along the activated fractures and faults and were discharged into the lake, causing the anomalously high mercury content of the sediments and leading to deposition of the Sulphur Bank mercury deposit. The total amount of mercury discharged into Clear Lake over the past 15,000 years is estimated to be at least 2,400 metric tons. So, at the end of the day, was it the miner's fault or nature just doing its thing? Either way, Clear Lake has some serious issues and needs to be cleaned up to protect the wildlife and nearby communities. Did you know about the Sulphur Bank Mine site and all of its issues? Leave me a comment on your thoughts, and as always, happy trails!